Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you guys my GOAT format deck. I am playing, of course, Chaos Recruiter. So let's go ahead and jump on into the main deck, and then I'll show you guys what I have for the side deck. Of course, starting off, you want to run your 1 copy of Blackluster Soldier and Void of the Beginning, and then your 3 copies of Chaos Sorcerer. Both of these monsters have the effects to summon them, you just banish 1 light and 1 dark monster from the graveyard, which is not too difficult for this build. And then, of course, they both have their own other effects. Like, Blackluster Soldier in Void of the Beginning has the effect of you can target 1 monster on the field, banish that card face up, you cannot attack the turn you activate this effect. Or, then there's the other effect that says, if this card attacks and destroys another monster by battle after damage calculation, you can make a second attack this turn, which is really good. And then you also have your Chaos Sorcerer's ability to, you can target 1 monster on the field, banish that target, then this card cannot attack the turn you activated it. So practically, Chaos Sorcerer is just a miniature version of Blackluster Soldier and Void of the Beginning, but it's still really good. Continuing on to the recruiters, I run 3 copies of Mystic Tomato. Mystic Tomato just says that this card is destroyed by battle and sends to the graveyard. You can special summon 1 dark monster from your deck with 1500 attack or less, and face up attack position. Our main target for this one, of course, is itself, so we can keep recruiting. However, if you run out of the targets, the main target for that is Sangan to be able to get your search. Continuing on with the recruiters, I also run 3 copies of Shining Angel. Shining Angel is the same exact thing as Mystic Tomato, except it special summons light monsters in attack mode, and the main target for that is DD Warrior Lady. So pretty much you want to use up all of these as possible to get to these. However, if you draw these, then you can just, of course, keep looping it into the other ones to kind of be able to fill up the graveyard. Now, I know lots of people who decide to run Thunder Dragon over the Shining Angels, which, I mean, is a viable option. It's a light that's easy to get to the graveyard. I just like Shining Angel for the fact of I can continue to loop my cards and add on that protection from, from battle damage. And yeah, that's pretty much the only reason why I run these over the Thunder Dragon. Continuing on to the Spirit Monsters, of course, we have 1 copy of Tsukiyomi. Tsukiyomi says, of course, you cannot special summon this card, but if this card is normally flipped face up, target 1 face up monster on the field, change that card to defense position. So pretty much it's just a Book of Moon as a monster. And then I also run 1 copy of Azura Priest. Azura Priest is, of course, this card cannot be special summoned, but and then it has the effect of it can attack all monsters your opponent controls once each. Of course, because they are spirit monsters, they will return during the end phase to your hands. Continuing on, I don't run many flip monsters, but I do run 2 copies of Magician of Faith, just so that way we can add back our spell cards. Continuing on to the main the normal summons of the deck, we do run 1 copy of Breaker the Magical Warrior. Breaker the Magical Warrior says that if this card is summoned, you can put 1 spell counter on this card, and then you can remove a spell counter card from this card, then target 1 spell trap card on the field, destroy that target. Pretty good to be able to get rid of cards. And then we also run Tribe Infecting Virus to be able to discard 1 card and then declare 1 type of monster on the field, destroy all face-up monsters that have that type on the field. Then, of course, for the main discard off of Tribe Infecting Virus, we do have Sinister Serpent. Sinister Serpent does have the effect that whenever it is while it is in the graveyard during the standby phase, it will return to your hand, and that's during either player's standby phase. Because I know that a lot of people can't really get their hands on the older version of the cards. I do have the older version just because I like the old, the video game rarity. But I've had this card for a while, but recently they went and changed they eroded the effect to where it's only on your standby phase. However, you gotta remember that because this is GOAT format, we play by pre-errata rules for a bunch of these cards. Moving on to the spell cards, of course, starting off with the Power 4 or Power 3. It really depends on how you see it. You run 1 copy of Pot of Greed. I wish I could tell you what this card does, but of course, nobody understands this card. But no, for real, of course, it's just a free +1 being able to draw you 2 cards. Then, of course, you run 1 copy of Graceful Charity. Graceful Charity is just draw 3, discard 2. Then you run Delinquent Duo. Delinquent Duo is actually really amazing, being able to pay 1,000 life points to randomly select 1 card and discard it from your opponent's hand, and then your opponent can pick 1 card from their hand and send it to the graveyard as well. I said can, they are forced to do that. So pretty much activating this gets your opponent to lose 2 cards in their hands. This is what people call the Power 3. However, I like to include Snatch Steal in there as well, being able to just take your opponent's monster, and that is a permanent take as well. The only downside to Snatch Steal is that it says that during each of your opponent's standby phase, increase their life by 1,000 points. But practically, if you have this card, you're just going to take it, and you're not going to take too much of a weak... you might take a weak monster, but even then, that's mainly just so you can continue attacking, and this can pay itself off by helping you win a game. To wrap up the one-ofs, I do run 1 copy of Heavy Storm to be able to clear out back row. Yes, it destroys your own, but honestly, that's not too bad, because the way you play GOAT format is you want to be sparing with your sets. You don't want to just set everything, because that's how your opponent can get to destroy your cards. Continuing on with the spells, I run 3 copies of Creature Swap. Creature Swap just has the effect if you can target 1 monster. Each player selects 1 monster on their field, and then they just swap control of those 2 monsters. The main targets for these, of course, would be your spirit monsters, because your spirit monsters just return during the end phase of the turn, so that way practically you just take one of your opponent's monsters, permanent take, and you just get back your spirit monsters. Now, to wrap up the spells, I only run 2 copies of Nobleman of Crossout. Nobleman of Crossout just says that you can remove it from play, so it banishes it. And it says if that monster destroyed has a flip effect, both players must remove all monster cards of the same name from their respective decks and remove them from play. The decks are then shuffled. So practically this just says, oh, you have a Magician of Faith set, I'm going to banish it, and then if you then both players remove all copies from the deck, which I think is pretty good. Okay, so continuing on to the trap cards. I run a decent amount of trap cards, but starting off, we run 3 copies of Trap Dust Shoot. Trap Dust Shoot has the effect of if your opponent has 4 or more cards in their hand, you can look at your opponent's hand and then send 1 monster card from their hand and return it to the deck, which is really good to be able to rip cards from your opponent's hands. Then, of course, I run 2 copies of Solemn Judgment. Solemn Judgment, of course, is just saying practically no to anything your opponent can do. Then I run 2 copies of Sakuretsu Armor. Sakuretsu Armor is literally just pretty much a miniature version of Mirror Force, being able to destroy the attacking monster instead of destroying all attack position monsters. And then continuing on, you run 2 copies of Dust Tornado. Dust Tornado is just, you can activate it, target 1 spell trap card your opponent controls, destroy that target, and then you can set 1 spell trap from your hand. And then to wrap up the traps, we run 1 copy of Ring of Destruction. Ring of Destruction does work a little bit differently in GOAT format because of the errata that it received. So instead of it being where, I think the newer ones is it has to be, you cannot kill your opponent or can't go over their life. It can be exact, but it can't go over, and it has to deal the damage to you first. However, this just says you can tribute a monster, deal that damage to your opponent and yourself at the same time. And notice as how I said it's at the same time. And then to wrap it up, we do run 1 copy of Mirror Force to destroy all attack position monsters our opponent controls. Alright, moving on to the side deck, because we don't run any cards in the fusion deck, because we don't really have any cards to fuse. We run 3 copies of Kaiku the Ghost Destroyer. Kaiku the Ghost Destroyer just says that each time this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you can remove up to 2 cards from their graveyard and just banish them. However, it also has the effect if your opponent cannot remove cards from play in either player's graveyard, which means this card is mainly to shut down the mirror match. Then continuing on, I run 2 copies of Thesealis, the Firestorm Monarch. This says that whenever this card is tribute summoned successfully, randomly discard 1 card from your opponent's hand. If the card that was sent from the discarded by this card's effect was a monster, you can inflict damage equal to that monster's level times 100. Continuing on, I run 2 copies of Mobius. Mobius just has the effect of when this card is tribute summoned successfully, you can destroy up to 2 spell trap cards on the field, which is pretty good. But continuing on and wrapping up the monster lineup, we do run 1 copy of Genzo to be able to lock your opponents out of trap cards. Continuing on to the spells, so to summon out, of course, all 5 of these monsters, we do run 3 copies of Soul Exchange. Soul Exchange just practically says if you were to tribute a monster for a tribute summon, you can tribute a monster your opponent controls instead. Then I also run 1 copy of Nobleman of Crossout as our 3rd copy if we are going against a deck that heavily relies on setting monsters. Now to wrap up the side deck, we do run 3 copies of Royal Oppression. Royal Oppression just says pay 800 life points to negate a special summon of a monster and the effect of a card that special summons a monster and destroy it. So practically, if your opponent tries to special summon, negate, destroy, then it also says both you and your opponents can use this effect as long as this card remains on the field. So practically, you have to be really careful when you're activating this because your opponent can in fact negate your own special summon by paying 800 life points. So you want to be careful activating these cards, but it can be used to shut down entire decks. So that's going to be about it for the video, guys. Be sure to leave a like, comment down below what you think of the deck, and if you if you want to see more of GOAT format stuff, be sure to let me know. I have a few people who play GOAT at my locals, and I would love to get some duel videos. If you guys are interested, be sure to subscribe so you guys can see that, and comment and tell me that you would like to see more of it. With that being said, that's going to be all it. That's going to be about it. See ya.